Hi everyone, I'm Kat from quickneed.com. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a really simple pencil case. The materials for this project are some fabric shears, just as these ones here, some quilt batting about 40 centimeters long at least. This one is standard quilt batting, however you may use adhesive quilt batting if you have that. A plastic or metal zipper. It needs to be at least 7 inches long or longer if you're adjusting the project to suit your needs. Some fabric. This again is about 40 centimeters long. I am using some bias strips from a previous video tutorial that I've taught on YouTube. If you want to do contrasting edges to your pencil case, you will also need approximately 40 centimeters of some contrasting fabric. Some sewing thread. This will need to be the same color as your contrasting fabric if you were using it, otherwise something that will just match your main fabric. And finally, your sewing pattern. This is a free download from quickneed.com. The link is in the description and it currently consists of 2 parts. Everything you need for the pattern will be included. You can download the pattern, the instructions, all the required materials, everything there in a very finished professional pattern. Attach the quilt batting to the body of the pencil case. You don't even need to actually attach these 2 pieces together, as the quilt batting will be sandwiched in the next step. However, you will get a nicer effect and look if you do so. This next step is important. You're going to be sewing the 2 main body pieces together. However, what you have to note is that both the right sides of the fabric will be facing outwards in this situation. Sew around the entire pencil case. Ideally, you should be stitching with less than a 5/8 inch seam allowance. With your bias strips, line them up at a right angle just as this one here. What you will need to do is overlap the edges ever so slightly. So as you can see, this bit here, the underside, and this top section has overlapped the edges to leave these little, I guess you'd say, ear shapes. Why you do this is you're going to stitch from the very corner here to this very corner up here. Now when you've stitched a straight line there, when you fold open your bias strips, it will fold open nice and flat and will give you one continuous bias strip. Just go ahead and trim this seam down and remove the ears, as I called them, from your project so that they won't show when you turn it over. So just trim down. And clip the ears down as well. And that way, when you turn your project out, it'll sit nice and flush and be nice and neat. Fold your bias tape in half, like this, and you'll want to press this seam or this edging here flat. If you're going to be pinning your bias tape down like I have here, it is very important that you use glass or metal headed pins. If you use plastic when pressing with an iron, they will melt and they will ruin your project. Once you've pressed that crease into your bias tape at the center point, what you will need to do is open it up, and you're going to actually fold these outer edges in to the center crease. I've just marked with a removable pen here that center crease so it's easier to see on camera. Now you fold over these, and then I fold over this side, and it can be a little bit fiddly, so you take your time. And then what I like to actually do is fold it back on itself, and then you get your complete bias tape here, and then just secure it with a pin. Try not to damage my table at the moment. Just like that to hold it in place. And then once you've gone around and done that for the entire bias tape, press again so that it holds it firm in place. You can buy bias tape makers on the market that will do this for you, which will fold it, and even presser feet for your sewing machine, which will help sew your bias tape and fold it in one process. If you don't have either of those, this is how you do it. Now that your bias tape is pressed in place, closed like this, what you want to do is actually reopen it, and you want to line the right sides together around the edge of your bag, and you will need to stitch that first crease, this fold here when opened, so that fold here, you'll need to stitch that at 5/8 of an inch all the way around your entire bag back to the beginning. But one tip is, before you actually stitch, you want to just fold this section in, just like that. Sorry, it's a little fiddly, so that you have a nice seam when you sew. When you've pinned your bias tape all the way around the bag, you may notice that you have slight excess, and that's fine. All you need to do is make sure that it goes further than the bias tape that you started off with, or that section where you started. So if you come along here, and I'm just going to take some scissors, and that's my starting point, and I will just trim, just like that. Now, important, just like before, fold back that section of your bias tape. Stitch around the entire pencil case at 5/8 of an inch, the entire way around. So all you need to do now is take your bias tape and fold it over all the way around your entire pencil case. So this may take a little bit of fiddling, and what you'll need to do is also turn under. Make sure that you've turned under your bias tape before you pin it down, so that it's going to come across and it's going to end up being sewn down like this. So if you can see on the other side, it's nice, it's flat, all the bulk and the seams enclosed, and same as on this side, you'll end up enclosing all of your seams. So now go around, and once you've done that, I find it helpful to, we'll be stitching on this side, so put your pin through, make sure at this point that it goes through your bias tape, okay? You come through again, just like that, and on the back side here, make sure it comes out ideally as close as you can possibly get it to this seam line, and that way you'll be making sure that when you stitch, you'll be stitching on the very edge of this bias tape. If you have tried folding over your bias tape and there's not quite enough space for you to fold that seam back under and then continue folding it over again, what you can do is just come along and with your fabric shears, just trim off a tiny amount. Okay, and you want to do this sparingly, and it's better to do several practices of this, or several rounds of doing this, than one big round of trimming down heaps. And then just attempt to fold that bias tape back over again. See if you can fold the seams under, and if necessary, repeat. Now you're going to do a method which is known as stitching in the ditch. So on the side that you've already stitched, and not the side that is to be stitched down, you're going to stitch along the very edge of that seam, if possible pulling the fabric slightly open, and you're going to actually stitch into the well or the ditch of the bias tape and the body of the bag, and this will allow it to stitch through and close off the underside of your bag. If you look at the pattern piece that I've provided you, you will notice these two dotted lines. These are the width of your base of the pencil case. So what I have done is I've just marked these two lines on the actual pattern. The original pattern had these two dotted lines on it. These are the lines to represent the base of your pencil case. So as you can see here, I've transferred these 2 lines just here onto the pencil case fabric. I've used a heat soluble pen, meaning the lines are not permanent, and this is important. You can also see the center line, which is the midway point between these 2 outer lines. So what I've done, why I marked that midway point, is because when I grabbed out my tape measure, I wanted to find the 7 centimeters roughly around the edge. So I've gone from that center point to this point here. And this is because that is where I want to line up my zipper so that the zipper will open and close to that point. So to make more sense of that, this is the base. If that is the base, I want my zip to come to about here. And so if I do that on both sides of the pencil case, you'll end up having your pencil case that will sit upright by itself and the zipper that goes almost all the way to the ends. Once you've determined the points where you want your zipper to start and stop, you're going to need to make sure that your zipper is the correct length. To do that, simply line up that top part and then follow the zipper material all the way around until you hit your next mark. And now just mark onto the zipper itself. There are ways to professionally fix this zipper by removing this metal piece here and then transferring it back up here and trimming this down. What I'm going to do is simply zigzag over this point just here quite a number of times with a small stitch length, so I get a very clustered zigzag stop here. And then I will trim just a bit further down than this mark. Now that my zipper has been trimmed to the appropriate length, as you can see my zigzag stitching as a stop here, what you'll need to do is line up that zigzag stop and pin your zipper in place so that the right side of your zipper, as you can tell this out here is the right side, will be facing downwards, and the right side, or the nicest side of your pencil case, will also be facing downwards. That way, when you've sewn your zipper on both sides, the right side will be facing out and your tape, the zipper seam allowance, will be hidden, nice and neat. Now you can just stitch along the outside line like this and just go around and stitch down. But if you really want to make your pencil case look professional, turn it over and stitch in the ditch just like you did before. So you're at this point where you've managed to sew your zipper on. However, you've got these giant holes on the sides and you're thinking, well, it's not really a pencil case, is it? So there's a very simple fix to this. What you want to do is turn your pencil case inside out. Now, this little bit is a little bit fiddly with the bias tape. Just like that. Now, try and bring your bias tape section up a little bit. Now find your marks for your base. So as you can see, the mark comes to here, the mark comes to here. And what you want to do, making sure that your case is aligned and that your zipper is straight, you're going to actually want to sew across that edge there, that whole section, that whole point, from that corner to that corner. Once you have sewn this section closed, it's as simple as grabbing your scissors and just trimming that seam down. Now for some extra security and strength to this seam, zigzag any bits closed. You can technically leave this section here attached if you want. It's just simply reducing the bulk that's inside your purse now. If you liked this project, please click the like and subscribe buttons below. It really does make a big difference. And leave a friendly comment for me, please. Thank you.